Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace. Welcome to my cooking show, The Natural Cook. I'm Anna Gershenson. Today we have very special food on the menu, soup. Soup can be eaten any time of year, but especially in the winter when it is cold outside and you want to make sure that you get all warmed through and comfy. And nothing can do it better than soup, especially thick soup with vegetables and beans and sausages, and this is exactly the kind of soup we're going to make today. So let's start chopping, and then I'll share with you what I'm working with, what will go into it. So the first thing that we're going to do is turn on the stove, of course, because without it we won't be able to cook. And also because I'm not using a stock, although you can. I want to show you how to make the soup just with water and how to flavor it to make it really, deep flavored and delicious. So the first thing we do is make sofrito. Sofrito is this combination of chopped onions and garlic, and which is not necessarily, you don't need to add garlic to make like a classic sofrito, but also carrots and celery. And then you saute them for a while so that you would mellow them, and they will really contribute sweetness to the soup. So I already chopped some onion, but in the meantime, I want to show you how I'm chopping it in case you haven't seen it yet. So first of all, I have my seal here, and this is a good idea to kind of hone your knife so that you know that it's really, really sharp, because without sharp knife, there is no successful cutting and chopping. So I'm going kind of like on the angle instead of doing traditional dice the way that you can see in many other places. This is really a very good technique to use, and this is how I go just along these kind of meridians of the onion, and then I'm cutting it straight, and you have your onion. So make sure that when you are warming up your pan that it doesn't get too hot, so your olive oil, which we are going to use today, is not going to get smoking and burnt, because it's not a good idea. So we are going to add some, swirl it, and add our onions. Okay. We'll add also the onion that I chopped already. And what I always do when I'm cooking my soup, I always season every vegetable that I add consecutively. I season with salt because it helps draw out moisture in the onions, for example, so they get cooking faster. And then you also flavor them simultaneously. So our onions are sauteing, and in the meantime we will prepare other vegetables that will go in our sofrito. So it's carrot and celery. I buy organic celery because it's on the Dirty Dozen list, and you don't want to consume pesticides and chemicals together with your food, so I strongly recommend that you get celery that is organically grown. So I will chop it. It takes time for this to catch up. Let's add some heat to make sure that things get moving. All right. Now let's chop some celery. And I already pre-cut carrots. So first you want to make sure that the onions have softened. Then you will add your chopped garlic, your minced garlic. And then you will add celery and carrots. And at that point, you probably need to let them cook slowly. I usually cover my pot with a lid so that they are kind of steaming there and mellowing and developing this sweetness that is going to enhance our soup. In the meantime, let me tell you more about the proportions of making vegetable soup. You really don't need a recipe to make a soup. All you need to know is that you need to take a pound or two of vegetables, and any vegetable will do. It will be either, sweet potato or white potato or butternut squash or cauliflower or Brussels sprouts or cabbage or broccoli. Like anything can go into it. And it's also a very good idea to add some kind of leafy vegetables. Like today I'm using Swiss chard, and you can also use kale. You can use collard greens, like whatever you like, whatever you happen to have. This is why when I'm shopping, I absolutely love buying what looks good and then putting into my refrigerator and then having fun with it, like deciding, okay, I have all my spices and herbs and I have my vegetables and I'm going to go and have fun with whatever I'm cooking. Just allow it some time and make more, because you can always freeze it. Your soup will last, without any meat in it, will last in the refrigerator for 5 days. However, I will also share with you how to make it fresher the next day, what you can add to it to make it a little different. So now that our onions have kind of softened, we are going to add minced garlic, and to cook it just a couple of minutes so that it kind of gets mixed with it. And then we are going to add our carrots and celery. And always remember to add a little bit of salt to flavor it and also get it going, extracting moisture. Okay, at this point, I will cover my pot and I will share with you another trick that I am using. I have an electric kettle at home, so it's very handy to warm up my water in it. So whenever my vegetables are ready to keep going, I have already hot water, and it doesn't stop the vegetables from cooking and bringing it back to boiling. It also happens faster. I also add bay leaf. This is another thing that I love that adds flavor. I kind of bury it into my vegetables and I let it cook and develop flavor and add to the soup. So the vegetables that we'll be using today are cauliflower. And by the way, when you are making something with cauliflower and you don't use this core, with the soup, everything goes into it. You don't have to waste anything. So I will just chop this core and also cut vegetables into smaller pieces. So basically, cutting vegetables into like 1 inch to 2 inch pieces, and also remembering that they all cook, not 2 inch, that's too big, sorry, that I misspoke, like 1/2 inch to 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch, depending on the vegetable. But you also have to remember that all vegetables cook at different speeds. Like for example, broccoli, cauliflower, sweet potato, they are all vegetables that cook really fast. So if you are including a white potato or including, for example, some kind of vegetable that cooks longer, like a carrot, you have to make sure that you stagger them, that you put something that cooks faster later, and something that cooks longer earlier, so that you don't have to have a mush of a vegetable when one is cooked and the other one is undercooked. So our cauliflower will be ready, and also I will use sweet potato. Sweet potato is a wonderful vegetable to include in your diet. It doesn't have any kind of starches that elevate your blood sugar, and it's full of nutrients, and it has carotenoids. When I am buying a sweet potato, I want to make sure that it has nice deep color. So the deeper the color, the more nutrients there are. And this is why when you are shopping, focus on what you are doing. Don't just daydream. Pay attention that your vegetables are really in top shape. Don't buy wrinkled or something that is already, soft or has spoilage. When I shop, I also look at how people choose their produce. And a lot of people just don't pay attention. They just grab something, but they won't look at it. But I'm very picky about the vegetables that I buy and about their quality. So you want to make sure that you do not brown anything. You just want it to mellow. You might want to reduce the temperature and just allow it to cook slowly and gradually, because this is the base of your flavor. So let's put our cauliflower here, and we will chop the sweet potatoes, and then I will show you what I do with Swiss chard. So when I'm washing my greens, like lettuces and herbs and leafy green vegetables, I always go for washing them in a bowl of water, because when you are dipping it into a bowl of water, then you just automatically get rid of all the impurities, sand, or whatever might be there. Makes it very easy for it to dislodge. So this is what I did with my Swiss chard already. And again, usually when you are working with Swiss chard, you really tossing the stems, but in a soup, everything goes into the soup. So your stems, I know that there is a French dish where the stems are actually cooked into a dish separately, because that's the base of this particular vegetable. But what I'm going to do is to show you how to do very quick separation of the stem from the leaf. Okay, so when my vegetables are going to be already softer, what I'm going to do, I'll show you how I flavor the soup. So let's go and proceed to our leafy green. So I will just shave off the leaf from the stem, and then I will chop up the stem and then chop up the greens. And of course the leafy greens will be the last ones to go into the soup, because they just cook so quickly. It might not be true of kale or collards. It depends on what variety you get, because they might be a little tougher. But Swiss chard is very, very gentle and tender. So you really need to be careful not to cook it too long. Okay, so while I'm chopping this, I will tell you what I'm flavoring my soup with in order for it to be like good tasting, instead of using vegetable broth or chicken broth that you might not have and have to purchase. I'm kind of a little weary, because I'm such a purist of the broths that they sell on the market, because I know that to enhance flavors, companies use some additives that you might not want in your food, and you might have family members with sensitivities. So what I do is, this is where my beautiful mortar and pestle come in. I take some rosemary, maybe half a teaspoon, and I grind it. And so it quickly dissolves. It just, the flavor becomes available right away, and it flavors your vegetables and also adds to the flavor of the soup. Okay, and then I would take fennel seeds. I discovered that fennel seeds offer like amazing depth of flavor when they are used. And why I'm crushing them, because I want all this flavor to come out. If you have time, you can also toast them. That will release their oils, and they will become even more flavorful. I'm not doing it right now, but you can definitely do it at home, just on a skillet. And then when you are eating your soup, you don't bite into the fennel seed or into a rosemary. You just kind of, their flavors contribute to other flavors. And it's a good idea to do it while your sofrito is cooking, because then it will all get really, all the flavors and aromatic oils are going to be released into it. So now it's a good idea to also add your vegetables. They can like brown a little bit and soften, like for example cauliflower. I will add sweet potatoes a little later, but it's a good idea at this point. Don't forget your salt. At this point, you can just cook it together, and again, when it's cooked together, it already releases all these flavors, and when you add your water, all these flavors will be absorbed, and you will be surprised how delicious it all is. Okay, so we are going to now allow these to cook a little bit, and we will come back and finish it off. Okay, so now we are ready to add our hot water. And remember that to about 1-2 pounds of vegetables, you would use about a quart, 4 cups of water. And then you can play with it. You can actually add more if you feel that your soup is too thick. And remember that we will be adding other things as well. So I'm going to go on the side of like 6 cups of water, because a lot of other things are going to go in, and I want to make sure that we have enough liquid there as well. So once it comes to boil, then we are going to add other vegetables and well as sausages. You can make this soup just vegetable soup and add sausages when you want to have like a different kind of soup the next day. But I'm going to put everything in, and sweet potatoes, and as well as the stems of the chard. They take longer. They will go in. And I'll show you my trick, what I do with sausages. I actually do not take the casing off. What I do is I take the sausage. I already took some meat out of it, and I'm using here plastic wrap. You can take a little sandwich bag and use it if you don't want to make your hands dirty. And what I do is I just pull like a small like a meatball size piece of meat from the sausage, and I keep doing it to get as many as I can. So you can decide how much sausage you want in your soup and how you want it to be flavored. So we are going to put the sausage at this point, as well as some tomatoes. Again, you don't have to add them, but I like adding them because they add very nice flavor. You can get a can of already chopped tomatoes, so you don't have to do anything, just empty it. However, what I do is I bought peeled tomatoes, and I just take, and with my hands, I just squeeze them, and kind of with my hands cutting them into smaller pieces. and adding them, they will definitely make the soup very delicious, and the tomato goes very nicely with sausages. So I will also add some beans. That will add fiber and all the nutrients that beans come from. If you want to make your own beans, please go ahead, soak them the night before, cook them and add them, and then you can use that water that the beans were cooking in. So to this quantity of soup, I will be adding a small can of tomatoes together with their liquid. Now let me rinse my hands. And the chickpeas are going to be going into a strainer and then straight into the pot. All right, so we're going to get really good quantity of soup. And at this point, I also add salt. You have to remember that the vegetables that are cooking, they do not have any seasonings. They are like in their virgin state. So when they are cooking, they are pulling salt from the liquid inside themselves. And if you do not have the liquid, your broth, sufficiently flavored, then your vegetables are going to be tasteless. Not tasteless, I apologize. Vegetables have wonderful flavors. But what happens is that when they have salt added to them, their flavors are, expanding, exploding, and really coming through. So I will say I will add maybe like a teaspoon of salt here and let them cook. At this point, I want to share with you what spices I use if I feel that the flavor of the soup is not really deep enough. You know how you are tasting it and sometimes you just say, oh, it's too watery. It needs something else. So instead of adding more salt, I go for cumin. Cumin is an amazing spice that has a lot of depth. And what it does is it just kind of brings out the flavors of whatever you put into it without tasting cuminy. So you add maybe half a teaspoon at the beginning and then taste it. I also like using freshly ground black pepper. That also adds nice spiciness and depth. So at this point, I'm going to taste and see whether it's to my liking, because I want to make sure that the broth that they're cooking in is already nicely flavored. Yes, I can definitely, cumin has added, and pepper, they have added like an immense burst of flavor. So at this point, I will cover it, bring it to low temperature, and then let it cook completely, and then we will add our Swiss chard that will cook very quickly, and then we will taste it again, and I will share with you what else you can do with your soup and what you can add to it to make it nutritious the next day and kind of revive it. We'll come back in a minute. So our soup is simmering gently. You don't want to boil it to have quiet, peaceful energy. Also, the sweet potatoes are already soft. The cauliflower is soft. So at this point, I'm going to increase the heat so that it starts boiling right away with the addition of our greens. And we are adding our Swiss chard and mixing it in. And this is the point where I really start tasting things, because the vegetables have absorbed all kinds of flavors that are in the soup and became flavorful and taken away some of the flavor of the broth. So you want to make sure that your broth is flavorful as well. And what can remedy it? First of all, you can add some tomato paste. It adds very nice depth of flavor. At the end of when the soup is ready, I like adding something acidic, like apple cider vinegar or maybe a splash of lemon juice. It also kind of brightens the flavor. And also, I will share with you what I do when, for example, the soup is cooked, it has cooled, it's in your refrigerator, and by the way, your soup for some reason always tastes better the next day. So it's a surprise, very nice surprise. So what we are going to do is you can add things like, for example, if you have leftover hamburger or cooked chicken, you can slice them in. But it's a good idea to bring, fresh vegetables into your soup. Like, for example, you can chop some broccoli or slice thinly some Brussels sprouts and throw them in. Or what you can do also to revive it is to add fresh chopped herbs. We are going to serve it with herbs, but also it's a good idea to always add fresh chopped herbs to your soup. Another thing that is very flavorful and is very, very healthy is adding miso. So miso is a live food. It has live enzymes, and you want to make sure that you get it, that you don't kill them. So when you are going to be heating up your soup, what you want to do is you will take, say, like a tablespoon of miso, and add it to your bowl, and then add some of the hot broth and dilute it to make sure that it will be easily dissolved in your soup. And then when you are adding the miso to the soup, then you just want to make sure that you just bring it back to boil. That's all. You don't need to cook it. As soon as it comes back to boil, you have to take it off the heat and enjoy eating it. And that way your miso is going to be cooked. So let us now add, let's taste again, because tasting and tasting is the ultimate art of cooking. So now we will add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and see how it changes the flavor. Very nice. Just amazing synergy of all the herbs and spices and flavors of vegetables, and it's just wonderful meal that you will enjoy on a winter night or a winter day. So at this point I will serve it and I will show you how beautiful it is in a bowl and what you can add. First of all, you can also grate fresh garlic the next day or fresh ginger. Right now, you can sprinkle some parsley, some scallions, drizzle a little bit of fresh olive oil, sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan if you want, and you have deliciousness. Wonderful. So remember, they don't say for nothing, soup is good food. Enjoy it in the winter. Make these wonderful thick soups and enjoy them. Eat them, full of vegetables and goodness. Thank you for watching my show, and come back again. Support for this program is provided in part by Guido's Fresh Marketplace.